Hello people, so I have read this book, Statistics Without Tears. I actually read it on holiday. You probably think it's not holiday reading. And being about statistics, some parts of it were not that exciting, but overall I think it's a brilliant book because I think statistics is important, and if you just take the numbers and you just take the formulae and you just take the things like, symbols on a page and everything, it can be terribly boring. And in fact, when I had to do statistics in university, I found it incredibly hard going, a real slog, really boring. I didn't do too well at it. But as I've aged and matured, I like to think, I think statistics is amazing because it's the one discipline which, if properly understood and properly used, can get to the crux, get to the heart of an important question, and do it with a certain degree of certainty. Nothing is absolutely certain. 97 point something percent is considered certain in statistics. Significant is not something that's necessarily important to human life or anything, because you might just be looking at the ratio, that's something to do with which is the most effective. If effective is long lasting, nail varnish. There you go, it's the first thing that came to mind. Not important, but a significance in statistics simply means that there is a difference which is not down to chance. So that's one of the things you learn in this book. You also learn about, the perfect normal distribution, which is where the mode, mean, and median, which are all three different measures of averages, would be the same. You learn about things like how to predict where 97% of the values will fall given what the mean is, and that's using things like, I can't remember all the phrases, but statistics is amazing in terms of understanding the world, in terms of predicting probable outcomes. So it's a bit like probabilities. It's basically the heart of science, and then you learn about things like sample errors. Anybody who knows anything about statistics is probably watching this and thinking, my god, this is basic stuff. But for people who don't know about statistics, or people who have studied statistics and found it hard going, or people who are going to get into statistics, this is a brilliant book to start with. And really, we all encounter statistics, and they're usually they're usually just kind of dished out to lie to us. They're often made up, but if you have an understanding of statistics, you can think that sounds like bullshit based on how statistics works. If somebody tells you something is in the top 10%, you want to know the top 10% of what? That's just so basic. But you'll see adverts, you'll have politicians talking about it. The media and the politicians, they'll lie to you all the time. People will tell you lies, and if you know about statistics and you have a few basic facts, then you can pretty much, filter out, sniff out the bullshit. So let me read you the back of the book, because it makes a good point for itself. And having read the book, it does what it says. It does what it says on the tin, right? So, the classic guide, now fully revised and updated. Why do we need statistics? What do terms like dispersion, correlation, normal distribution, and significance actually mean? How can I learn how to think statistically? So for me, that was the bit, how can I learn how to think statistically? That made me think, this book's probably worth reading. The best-selling introduction for anyone who wants to know about I'm not wearing my glasses. And the sky is actually not super bright. There's not much light, so we might actually get some rain. Yes. The drought, I think this is how many droughts have we had in the last 5 years? I don't know, but a fair few. Lots of forest fires as well. Are you in the UK? In the UK yesterday, everybody got warnings on their phones, emergency warnings. Boop, 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 but the phone starts doing this. Every phone in the UK about forest fires. Yeah. So anyway, I shall try again. This best-selling introduction for anyone who wants to know how statistics works and the powerful ideas behind it, teaching through words and diagrams instead of requiring you to do complex calculations. It assumes no expert knowledge and makes the subject accessible even to readers who consider themselves non-mathematical. This clear and informative tutorial imprint includes questions for you to respond to in light of what you have read so far, ensuring your developing ability to think statistically. I mean, it covers the different types of graphs, the different types of, scatter graphs, and what they're used for in terms of what data they represent in a way that is easily understandable, standard deviations, So, I think something like 67% of all values will be within 2 standard deviations. So if you want to predict the likelihood of something not happening in a similar way, and you know the numbers, you can think, well, it's 67% unlikely to do that. I might be plucking that 67% number from air, but it is in one of these examples. 3 standard deviations out. What's a standard deviation? Well, you learn that is how much something tends to deviate from the mean or the mode or the median in a perfect normal distribution. They'll all 3 be the same. You can draw a straight line through them. How to predict further values using statistics and how likely they are to be certain given the data you've got. Now I'm talking about it, to me I'm thinking, damn, that was actually really useful, that was really interesting. This is actually one of those books which I'm saying to myself I should go back and read again. Not because it was amazingly fun to read, but it's incredibly useful. The other one I want to read again. The other one I want to read again. The other one I want to. That's a good phrase. I used to teach English in Poland, and the students would say to me, what is I wanna, I gonna wanna, and all this, because it's not proper English, but it's how we speak, right? Yeah, it's one of the books I want to read again. And so is The Laws of Human Nature. That's an amazing book. I've already reviewed that one, I think. And then the other one I'm reading right now, which makes a lot of reference to I've forgotten how to speak. The other one I'm reading, well, not reading really, I'm listening to right now, which it's on Audible. I want to buy it, and so when I looked it up and saw it was on Audible, and I have loads of Audible credits, I thought I'll just download it. Is How Migration Really Works. My gosh, isn't that topical? I guess it has been for the last 50, 60 years, or however long ago politicians figured out they can do whatever the fuck they want and just say, but it's not me, it's right now, it's the boats. Nigel Farage is the shit because he got made to look like a proper retard that he is by Count Bimface, and migration is falling, and so what's he going to shout about? Who's he going to point out now what he does? Or his conmanery. Is that a new word? Conmanery? Along with all the other right-wing politicians who just live to suck the dick of big corporations and whoever's paying them. My God, this went off on a tangent. I do apologise. But it's a good book. I'm gonna tell you what the chapters are. My theme music, that's the ice cream van. So it starts off with statistical inquiry. What is statistical inquiry? Why do we do it? We can use it to make sense of experience. What is statistics? Descriptive and inferential statistics. So descriptive statistics is just right. There are 7 fingers, I hope there aren't, on this hand. But there are usually 5 fingers. The average is 5. And inferential is, so that means there will probably be 5 fingers on every hand. Yeah. Not a good example because some people are born without fingers and some people's fingers get chopped off, especially if they're samurai or yakuza. Collecting a sample. There's a Sikh martial art, I can't remember what it is, but that uses swords, and a lot of the people who do that have lost fingers in training. Describing our sample. So a sample is basically, if you were doing an experiment on university students, your sample would be university students, or this type of university student from the psychology course or the statistics course. What you want to do is get as representative a sample as possible, and because of that you get sample differences. So let's say you had 100 people on an art course and you did statistics with 10 of them. It's likely that the results you got will be completely different from the results from another 10, and they'd be completely different from the results from another 10. So you need a larger sample to make sure that your differences aren't just down to sample error. Wow, I learned something, woohoo. Then it goes on. It doesn't go on. Go on sounds like a negative term. I don't want any ice cream. Describing our sample. Oh God, I hope it rains. I might get flooded because the ground is baked, but Summarizing our data. This is looking at tables and what kind of tables are a useful way to describe different bits of information. It's actually, as I'm flicking through, I realize a very good book. But when you're on holiday, and I was on holiday in Italy and it was beautiful and there was so much to see and do, it wasn't the most exciting thing to sit down and do. I still enjoyed it. The Shape of a Distribution, that's chapter number 4. So, it talks about skew and fat tails, long tails. This is where it talks about standard deviations as well. So I found that very interesting. From sample to population. So that's where if you're going to use it to make inferences, then you want to make sure it's as representative a sample as possible. You know, just because it said so in the experiment, will it be the case in real life? So that's why experiments have to be repeated. Comparing samples, this is about eliminating sample error. Probably not doing the best job of getting you excited about this book, am I? It is really good, really good. Anyone who wants to just understand the world better and can be bothered. Further matters of significance should read this book. So significance is, you know, is there an actual difference, or is it some difference? Is there an actual effect, or is it just something that occurred by chance? It's just occurred to me that I'd be much quicker doing this by just reading the contents. Analyzing relationships. This goes on about coefficients and correlations, which, you know, correlation is not causation. You've all heard that. Just because two things tend to go up, it does not mean that at the same time, it does not mean one causes the other. Here's an interesting thing from that book. How migration really works. Guess what happens when migration goes up in terms of crime? Crime tends to go down. Mustn't say that, you know, or hurt. And final remarks. My final remarks are, it's a really good book. It's not the most exciting book in the world, but it's a very informative book that I think is useful, that everybody should read. It's an introduction for non-mathematicians. It's by Derek Rowntree. It's in about its 30th edition because it keeps selling and it's doing so well. So there you're going. If all reading was just about enjoyment, I'd probably give this, with 5 being average, I'd give this a 5 out of 10. So 5 isn't bad, you know. 1 is really bad. But I still give the book a 7 out of 10 because I found it really useful and really informative. And I'll probably read it again. And I didn't check the camera angle, so I hope you can see me. But there you go, that's the review. Statistics Without Tears, an introduction for non-mathematicians by Derek Rowntree, with that funky cover illustration. There's Derek Rowntree. There you go.